In this video, I want to talk about doors. We know what a door is. It's a physical construction, so it's something we build to build a separation or to install separation in a space. For example, when I open this door, I'm going outside of my apartment. So there is natural space that's divided between the outside of my apartment and the inside. And there are keys. And the keys are meant for me, the key holder, to make sure that only the right people have access to this place here, which is my apartment. If you have this physical construction without the keys, anyone could come in and out. But because it's constructed with keys, that you need a key to open it, only those with a key can decide who comes in, who comes out. Now there are those who can break in, but when they break in, it's obvious they were not meant to be there. Now people can break in anyway, because those that are smart with locks know how to do it, but you get the idea. This is just something human beings made up. Build a construction that can allow who can enter, who can't. But okay, doors are effective. They also keep cold outside. If this was the front door and it was open air and it was freezing outside, the door keeps the cold outside as long as the source of heat on the inside of the house or the apartment. But anyway, enough about physical doors. I'm using doors as a parable here. I want to talk about closing satanic doors in your life. So let me move further over here. Yes, going to my hallway. What are satanic doors? A satanic door is anything in your affairs. I'm not saying in your life as it's something you possess. I'm talking about your affairs. Because we know that things like privacy, private life, personal space, those things don't exist. We know that. So I'm saying your affairs. A satanic door is anything in your affairs that grants demons access to you. Now, you live in a world where most people operate in darkness. So that alone can be seen as a satanic door. So when I'm talking about satanic doors, I'm not talking about the fact that you live in the world. I'm not talking about that. Okay? Just because you're in the world doesn't mean demons automatically have access to you. Nor that human predators have access to you. In order to have access to you, to drain you, to exploit you, or to destroy you, there needs to be points of contact in which they can reach you. And it's those paranormal points of contact I'm going to talk about. You can easily close satanic doors once you recognize them for what they are. It's a point of contact for the paranormal to get a hold on you. And those points of contact are not always obvious. That's why they're called satanic doors. Because they're not obvious, because if they were obvious, you would close the door. But because they're not obvious, the door is open, but you're not aware that it's because the door is open that a lot of things continue. Let me give a parable onto you. It's not really related to this subject, but let's say now that you have a son that's grown and is still living at home, but he's hanging around with the bad crowds and he's often involved with the police or the drug possession, all of that, and it gets worse and worse. Then one day your son decides to move out and he has his own apartment, and the day he leaves the home, things are at ease. There are no cops coming around anymore. There are no dangerous people coming there. Because those dangerous people are after your son, but now they're not coming there anymore. So now you have more safety around your place. What's going on? That son being there as a resident of your house or your place of residence was a satanic door for violence to affect you. Now that he's gone, the violence leaves with him. But because it wasn't obvious to you that his presence in your place of residence was a satanic door, you did not tell them, listen, you either forfeit your old life and you look for help, or you need to get out of here because I cannot tolerate this danger because of you. You keep bringing harm to this place and you just don't care. I don't take it anymore. So that is an example of a satanic door. It's not your son himself who is a satanic door, but it's his presence, actual location, that's a satanic door. And there was this parable I used in the past that's based on something that happened once, was that there was this, I believe it was a drug dealer. He was on the run for the SWAT team. The police was after him. So he sent a SWAT team after him. So he was considered quite dangerous. He was visiting a relative of his, and the relative had a 6-year-old daughter. When the SWAT team came, they unloaded their bullets on the place of residence because they expected to have a gang in there. But it was just the fugitive with his relative and the daughter of his relative. The 6-year-old daughter died because one of those bullets hit her. Now what happened here? In this case, the presence of the fugitive at the relative's house was what led to the death of the 6-year-old daughter. So the father of that household should have said, listen, dude, we're family, we're relatives, that's cool, I have nothing against you, but listen, I have a daughter here, I have a family to take care of. You have your darkness is haunting you. I'm not blaming you, but I want you to look for help and I can't have you around me. Because what if the police comes and they associate my place of residence with criminality? That may be an excuse for me to be fired because now my name is associated with criminality and that will work back on the reputation of the company I work at. So, and if I lose my job, I'm going to feed my family, so I don't have you here. Or what if one of your buddies from the streets come here and they have people after them? So you don't have people after you, but they have people after them. And now your buddies with you, and now whatever haunts your buddy haunts you, and now it also haunts me because you're with me. So a satanic door is any opportunity for the paranormal to exploit you, drain you, or flat out destroy you. So there is a saying that when God intervenes in your life, he sends someone. The same with the enemy. When he comes to kill, to destroy, he sends someone into your life. It doesn't always have to be an unbeliever. Let me highlight that. Sometimes the enemy uses believers who are not renewed in their mind to trick you. Because you have many believers who are still operating in darkness because they're not renewed in their mind. So Satan can also use them to trick you into harm's way. Because if he would only use unbelievers, it would be very easy for you to avoid his snares. But because he sometimes even uses believers that those believers don't walk by faith, that's why it's more tricky. You may have a believer, he or she is born again, but he holds on to false doctrines. That believer, when he or she don't renew their mind, they become a satanic door to you. So you must lower contact with them. A satanic door can also be that you are in a situation that's bad and now you want better. You want to get away from the situation. You think getting away from the situation is better. That's your thinking. So you're focused on getting away from the situation. You're focused on getting relief from the situation. And now an opportunity comes for you to get relief from that situation. But there is no long-term plan for the better. For example, you can be at a job where you're scapegoated and you have the offer to go on welfare for a while. And so you think, okay, let me do that, I'm away from the job. Okay, good, you're away from that toxic job that was destroying you. But what are you going to do in the long run? Because that welfare will not last forever. So you taking that way out without considering the long-term consequences is itself a satanic door. Because once you're away from that job, but you aren't really active in anything better, now temptation comes for you to be involved in informal or criminal activity just to earn a living. Or now you are tempted to do things by your own strength instead of relying on Christ. So opportunities to get rid of something bad can also be a satanic door. That is why every opportunity that comes your way, you need to examine them. Hold on. So that's another thing, and there's another thing you need to notice. When are people contacting you? When you are not being constructive and you're just seeking relief, and people don't contact you, okay, it's because they're not interested or you have other things to do. But let's say now you now begin to walk by faith, and suddenly those same people who ignore you start to contact you all the time. What's going on? That is a satanic door. Why? Because their interest in you is paranormal, it's not natural. They are pushed by the enemy to interact with you, to hinder you from walking by faith. Haven't you noticed it that anytime you're doing something constructive on a spiritual level, that you have people suddenly contacting you, they suddenly need something, or they suddenly have some drama they need to talk about, or they suddenly are upset with something you said? Haven't you also noticed that it's when you're doing something constructive on a spiritual level that you suddenly have debt collectors, or you have landlords, or whatever type of organization, institution bothering you? Maybe you paid rent, but the landlord suddenly doesn't see that you've paid rent, so he sends you a reminder, even though you can see it on your banking app that you've paid. And you send that screenshot to him, but he just doesn't see it. What's that? That's demons manipulating the situation to put your attention on the bad instead of walking by faith. So, satanic doors are anything in your affairs that enables paranormal that offers to you. And most satanic doors are bad relationships. That is why, as a believer, you must decree and declare in line with Christ every day. You must be renewed in your mind. It's when you're renewed in your mind, you're able to filter relationships the proper way. Without renewing your mind, you'll be mainly filtering relationships based on a cost-benefit analysis. What does this cost me? Can I afford it? You're still focused on self. But when you are renewed in your mind, you look at the bigger picture. You look at it from the wider perspective, so you see things in the long run. That's very different. So, close satanic doors so that you can walk in the opportunities those spirits open for you. That's it for now. Keep agreeing with Christ and be at peace.